Jack Innanen and Elizabeth Perkins. Dan?
Yes.
I have a sister.
Uh-huh.
We've never exhumed anybody.
Listen, there's always a first for everything. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So where did this idea of mixing the crime and the family come from?
Well, from a deep-rooted fear of being blackmailed into the organized crime. I don't know. There was something really thrilling to me about tackling the concept of a comedy that was also very much a thriller. And I didn't ever want to compromise on one or the other. I wanted them to live kind of simultaneously at the same time. And I hadn't seen a lot of comedy shows that were doing that, so it felt like a relatively unique idea. The challenge was executing it. And a lot of that had to do with casting. And then when we found this brilliant cast of people, and we'll get to Elizabeth in a second because she shows up in episode 3 when, I'll give a little bit away, when Max decides that both of the mothers, Elizabeth plays Max's mother in this show, need to come and intervene in the affair conversation. And it gets wildly out of hand. But yeah, once we had the cast down, it was like heaven. Because the quality of these actors are they're so strong that they could pull off the groundedness that we needed to sell both the reality of the comedy and the stakes of the thrills. So it was all the cast, and what a cast.
So tell us more about finding these particular actors for these roles. You wrote this with Rachel Sennott, who we know from Shiva Baby and Bottoms and so many other great things. But you need to find actors who can really find that balance between the comedy and the thriller part.
Yeah.
So tell us about casting each one of them.
Well, I mean, Taylor was the very first tape I ever saw, and the very last tape I ever saw. And for all you actors out there, you don't want to be first. It's a bad place to be, because as good as she was, at the time I was like, well, I have hundreds of people to see. And also, it just wasn't, we never found anybody. We went through so many people, and I ended up writing an additional scene and having some people retape, and the additional scene ended up making it in the show. It was the very first scene of the two of us in the back of the truck in the beginning of episode 2. And I realized that we needed to see this character in a different state. And as soon as somehow Taylor retaped, and we saw the tape, and it was like, great. She came in, we did a chemistry read, and I knew then that. And also, like, how great is she? It's such a hard, like, she makes it look so easy, but to pull off what she pulls off in this show, it's like, it's brilliance. So it was just, yeah, do you want to say
Yeah, I thought that it would be kind of a really good fit, but I think sometimes you think that, and then you say, but there's like no chance, certainly, and you audition and you let it go and you sort of forget about it. And then when it came back around, it was probably 6 months later. It's a long time. And really when it came back around, then it moved very quickly. I retaped and we met like a couple of days later. And I had, it's never up to you as the person coming in and reading for it, but I definitely went in and thought, we just do really have good chemistry, and it was fun, and it felt very natural, and we did that new scene that from episode 2. And then you called me like the next day, which was really nice. I was like, surely he wouldn't call me and tell me I didn't get it.
Right. Leave that to somebody else.
Yeah.
When did you know that you got Morgan? Was it on the page? Was it in the reads with Dan?
Like that I understood the character? From the character breakdown, I thought this is very close to type. She's Italian, she's from New Jersey, she's a little bit reactive, which I can be at times. So I thought, and then I think I read the whole pilot before I at least read with you. And I just thought that whatever my version of it was could be really, really fun and active, and it did feel that way when we shot it.
And Dan, tell us about the character of Max and casting Jack for that role.
It was tricky. It was really tricky because Max is a character that in the wrong hands could be like unbelievably unlikable.
Kind of about himself, isn't he?
He's like a byproduct of like being a very coddled only child and really kind of like loving his own vibe. But also has a really big heart and genuinely loves Morgan. So the key was finding someone who had this like inherent likability and warmth and charm, and we weren't finding people. Like there were people who could pull off the comedy, but they couldn't, they weren't finding the like grounded moments of real like human relatability with that character. And I ended up watching Adults and saw Jack and called casting and was like, bring him in immediately. And his tape was great and his chemistry read was excellent. And we love to hire a Canadian. And he's like such a singular actor and has such an innate like charisma and magnetism to him. And I think what he's done with this character, and you'll see over the course of the season, like how the twists and turns of their relationship go. But it takes someone really special to come in and make a character that on the page is really tough to root for, to give him a heartbeat and to give him kind of empathy.
Jack, where did that heartbeat come for you? What did you want to bring to this character on the page?
Yeah, I think I agree that it was a little challenging at first because when you read the page, it's just fighting with Morgan. I was like, but he's supposed to be sweet. But it was fun to kind of find the man-child aspect, which, by the way, I told my mom, I was like, I'm going for like this whiny man-child. She's like, oh, you're gonna be great for me.
Your mother's.
Yeah. Shout out my mom. But I think it is like almost that like man-child, like the child aspect is kind of the endearing part, that they have been together for 17 years. And I think there are many relationships I've seen where it's like, maybe you guys have outgrown each other in certain ways, or like you're out of sync, as I think Max and Morgan are. So I think a lot of the trying to find like the real, you said one time, you're like, oh, like you made me laugh one time, you're like, oh, like do this like a real person. I was like, oh, I need Max just to be a real person where he is trying. I think the absolute motivation of Max is that he's trying, and he's been coddled and he's been over-therapized, but he's really trying. And I think that's where the earnestness comes through, even though he's completely misdirected.
He's really likable the whole time.
Yeah, because the actor doesn't judge the character he's playing. Do you know what I mean?
That's rule number one.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, we haven't seen your character Annette yet.
I can't wait.
Yeah? What can you tell us without spoiling?
Well, I'm his mom, and I love him very much. And he's coddled in a good way. I have a lot of money, and I spend it on him. And he's been involved with Morgan for a long time, and so the families are very close, but they're very different. Obviously, I have a lot of money, and I'm a real estate tycoonish, and but I've settled into the fact that this is going to happen, and it was a great chance for me to explore the female relationship between me and Laurie Metcalf, being so diametrically opposed. And you have to commit to what your child decides, even if they are a man-child. They make bad decisions. And she loves Morgan, sort of. And is just sort of adjusting to this family after 17 years, and it's a long-term relationship. So,
I mean, the character of Annette, you'll see, was kind of put into the show to be a mirror to Laurie's character. It's everything I think she wishes she was. You know, she's at the top of her game. She comes from a lot of money, and it acts as this. And we needed like an unbelievable sparring partner for Laurie's character, to just have someone that is never going to be what she is. And yet what we learn over the course of the show is that they each have something that the other one doesn't have. They just don't know it yet. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's a great reveal and for Linda to have this other woman who she inevitably will have to welcome into her family, and has for many, many years. But there are so many stark differences. And Elizabeth was the only person that I asked to do this, and very fortunate.
Sometimes it's good to be
yes.
first, yeah.
Yeah. And
if Dan asked me to just be the person who brings him coffee in the morning to the monitor, I'd be on the next.
I'm so grateful that she said yes, because, you know, the scenes with her and Laurie in the coming episodes are just so incredible. And these two matriarchs act as this incredible grounding force for all of us to orbit around. And it's just such a thrill. And again, to be an actor, and to be sitting in a scene with Elizabeth Perkins and Laurie Metcalf, you're kind of like, what? How did I get here?
Yeah, I felt that way too.
You got it. You know, the series and the characters seem very different from Schitt's Creek, and yet there is a bit of a through line as you talk about it, because these are characters who start out very extra, and yet over time it sounds like we're going to get to know them, we're going to get to love them even more, and we're going to see the kind of common humanity we may all have. What for you is that bridge between the two shows, do you think?
I think when the dust settled on Schitt's, it's been 6 years since the show ended. It's hard to believe. But I wanted the dust to settle so that I could reintroduce not just myself, but a different story to an audience that was ready to receive it. You know, I'm aware of what the show meant to people, and I think it was important to give an audience time to recalibrate their expectations to receive something new and different. But I always, as soon as I understood what the show was, I knew that this was going to be another family adventure. So I kind of have been referring to it as like a different book on the same shelf. You know, it's a different family adventure that to me is just as exciting and just as fulfilling, and I'm just as proud of it. So I feel very lucky to be at the very beginning of a new adventure with a new family, and I'm just so excited for everyone to watch this season. I'm so proud of it.
What's that reservoir? You don't let family.
Yeah.
Both of these shows have that very much in common.
Family dynamics are endlessly entertaining. They are a well you can dip in time and time and time and time again. They offer everything. The way that, writing family to me is almost a cheat, in the sense that you don't have to write expositional dialogue when you're just watching people in a family react to each other. You know what I mean? It was important. I wrote the first episode where the audience essentially is dropped right into the middle of this family's crisis. There's no explanation as to who these people are. The audience is forced to keep up with what this insane family is doing in this hospital room. And I love that, because it's just in watching these people that you get to understand almost instantly who they are, what they mean to each other, what they stand for. And to me, it's like, it's the greatest mine to go digging in. So yeah.
Makes sense. The tone, though, is different. There's a lot of high-stress situations in this show, which seems very much of the moment, actually. A lot of the movies and the series we're watching, like most of the Oscar shortlists, seem to be these high-stress, anxiety movies.
I want to just give a big shout-out to another fellow Canadian, and that's Peaches.
Oh, yes.
Who did the score
Yeah.
with Nora. Crushed. And Peaches was on a playlist that I had as I was listening to in the early days of even conceiving of this show.
Really?
And I knew because I've been a fan for decades, she is profound, and yet there's a lightness to the music that she makes.
Yeah,
there's
humor.
self-awareness,
Yeah.
and there's humor.
Especially when you see her live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, what better a combination than this like incredible artist? We paired her with another incredible, musician to flesh out the score. And she said yes. She read the script and said yes. And I had a meeting with her, which was, I was in awe. And I just finished post on the show. And I would just be in a random Zoom with Peaches, being like, I love your work, like, keep going. But I think that pairing, that musical pairing helped immensely in creating the tension in the show. The music is so singular and so special and allows us all to live in this strange world of comedy and thrills.
One last thing I want to ask. A minister. Interesting. When did that come
As a
into this?
writer, you want to pull the pendulum as far back as you possibly can. And as an actor who's in charge of the character I'm playing, you want to pull the pendulum as far back as you possibly can. And I think it was really about, with all of these characters, setting the table for them so that the circumstance that comes their way meets their character at the worst possible time. And so it's all about layering a character with figuring out, okay, well, what do they do? And is that the worst possible job that you could have if crime is introduced? And so when I was thinking about Nikki, and me as someone who wanted to play that part, well, yeah, like if you're a pastor and now you're involved in a crime situation, like chef's kiss from a writing standpoint, it's endlessly entertaining. And it also allowed for me to reveal a side of this character that was important. I think it's nice to know that he's breaking the rules, but he's breaking the rules for love. Do you know what I mean? And it allows the audience to understand a softness to the character as opposed to like, he's breaking the rules for some other reason, but it still shows that he has the capacity to break the rules. And that felt really kind of interesting. And the robes are great to wear.
Fabulous costumes for. Is he Catholic?
No, he's a Presbyterian denomination.
Presbyterian,
Yeah,
okay.
a non-practicing
Similar,
pastor.
but different.
I found the term non-practicing to be both incredibly problematic and funny.
Right.
Just the word choice of like non-practicing feels like so clinical. It feels like someone who is very scared to offend, but is fine to offend.
Not how it works at all either.
Exactly.
Don't know how to apply it.
Well, listen, thank you so much for sharing the first 2 episodes of Big Mistakes with us.
Thank you so much for being
Thank you
here.
for being here. Thank you for being here. Please join me in